Fire on the mountains, run, boys, run. Devil's in the house of the rising sun. Chickens in the bread pan are picking out dough. Granny, does your dog bite? No, child, no. Hello, today we're not talking about the devil going down to Georgia. We are talking about the devil apparently going up to New Jersey. Because today, it has been a hard week, and I need some decompression. So I thought we would review the most unintentionally hilarious episode of the X-Files. That's right, y'all. The season 1 episode, The Jersey Devil. There are X-Files episodes that are comedic and dark and philosophical. I'm looking at you, Darren Morgan. And then there are X-Files episodes that are unintentionally hilarious. And prior to season 2, you get a lot of that, just unintentional hilarity. And the Jersey Devil just hits all those hallmarks. I'll tell you why it's the most unintentionally hilarious episode of the X-Files, because it is written by Mr. Chris Carter. And I do not think he could write anything intentionally hilarious. But holy shit, when it's unintentional, it's gold. And the Jersey Devil is all of those things. So strap in. We're going to talk about the campiest of the X-Files episode that wasn't even meant to be that way, the Jersey Devil. So the episode starts out in the 1940s. I am drinking let me show you. I am drinking a boozy Barks root beer today with a shot of Jack Daniel's Fireball whiskey. Again, not a sponsor. If you want me to talk about your tea or your root beer or your goat soap or whatever the hell, please sponsor me. I'd love it. So we start out, it's in the 1940s. There's a family driving down the road in the middle of the night, and they have a flat tire, and the family's singing Bingo. There was a dog, Bingo was his name-o, just to make sure we get emotionally attached to them. And I don't know if you've ever watched a horror film before, but in this circumstance, it never ends well. Dad gets out to change the flat tire, and wouldn't you know it, the Jersey Devil jumps out and helps him change the flat tire. I'm just kidding. The Jersey Devil drags him into the woods and chews his leg off. Now, then we see these people. They have these dogs. They're searching for the man. They find him, and oh, are you just gonna sit in my lap? My cat's sitting in my lap today. She's not being a stuck-up little tool. There's this one guy in the background upchucking, and that actor's just giving it 120%. And then they see the Jersey Devil in a cave, and they shoot him, and then we get the title sequence. So then you see Miss Dana Scully walk into the office she shares with Mr. Fox Mulder. And he is looking at a porno mag. And Scully sees him, and she makes a titty joke. And this leads to one of my favorite X-Files headcanons. Mulder and Scully share the same porn. Especially in season 1, Scully seems like really chill with her work partner procuring pornography in their place of work. I would not be comfortable with that. I could see her going over to his apartment and seeing a porno mag. But someone like Scully would be so shook, you would think, by that. But she's not. You want to say hey? You want to say hey? Hi. Hi, that's my little Jersey Devil right there. So, she's a devil at any rate. Oh, my wrist is cramping again. So, But Scully seems like a little too comfortable with her work partner procuring pornography in her presence. My headcanon is Scully caught him at it the first time, and she was like, hey, spooky boy, I won't rat you out to our superiors, but you gotta give me a cut of that sweet, sweet porno, Mac. My theory is that Scully, I think in her childhood she was taught, like, to hunt and camp and fight by her brothers, but then she kind of had a sheltered side where, like, she wasn't exposed to, like, pornography or anything. So I think she, like, has a genuine curiosity over it. And that's why she, like, blackmails Spooky Boy about his so she can, like, get a cut. Anyway, just a headcanon. Love it. Anyway, Scully makes a titty joke, and she's very proud of it. Mulder says, this woman in this magazine was, like, in a anti-gravity chamber, and then Scully looks at it, and she's checking out that woman's tits, because bisexual queen Dana Scully, and she's like, oh yes, anti-gravity is what I'd say. She's very proud of her titty joke. And if you aren't comfortable with titties, don't watch this episode, because that's what it needs to be called. Titties. X-Files titties. It's just, there's so many titties in this episode. There's human titties, there's Bigfoot titties, everybody's got titties. And we're gonna see more of those in just a bit. So Scully tells Mulder, I just heard of a case that'll take your knees out. Scully peak sass in this episode. And I fucking love it. So she talks about, like, this guy had his leg chewed off, and Mulder tells her the story of the Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil is a legend about this, like, humanoid type monster, and they come out and attack people in and around the state of New Jersey. And Scully's like, I've heard that story since I was a kid. And then Mulder's like, oh yeah, I only didn't stop believing it. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty much spot on Fox Mulder. So they go out to New Jersey. They look at this body of a certain Mr. Crockett, a homeless man. And this cop comes in. He's being a huge dickhead. And the pathologist is a bro. She's just like, hey, let these feds do their work, man. She's like, there's no need to get pissy. By the way, piss is my peak swear word. Since I have a 7-year-old, I use piss all the time, because it technically is not a curse word. So, that's one thing about the X-Files, in a show about, like, aliens and lake monsters. I think that's one of the most unbelievable things in the show, is the lack of just decent people. I talked about that in my episode on the Goldberg variation, but, like, there would be more just good, decent people that want to do the right thing than the X-Files shows, but this woman's one of them, and I like to see just good, decent people. The pathologist is like, hey man, back off, these are feds. And then the police chief is a dickhead again, and so, Mulder and Scully leave, and they're walking to their car, and Mulder says to Scully, hey baby, why don't we see a floor show, put some quarters in the slots, and have a night in Atlantic City? That's not me being facetious. This is the actual script from the show. So, Scully's like, actually, I have plans. And he says, is it a date? These people have been working together for 3 months now. And he's acting this way. Yeah. So Scully's like, no, I gotta go to my godson's birthday party. And Mulder's like, hey, I'm gonna stick around here for a little bit. Scully is pissed. She's like, I have to drive home in Friday night traffic. She is so pissed off. But get used to it, Dana Scully. You are in for 7, possibly more long years of being ditched by this motherfucker. So get used to it, girlfriend. I wish I Wish I could tell you it got better, Dana Scully, but it only gets worse. So, Mulder goes off to a state park, question mark. He meets a park ranger, and the park ranger kind of looks like the cop from Aubrey, the season 2 episode, and also the same actor who played the guy who discovers the bomb and the soda machine in Fight the Future, but it's not him. So this guy is talking to Mulder, and he's like, Mulder's like, have you seen anything strange around here? And the guy's like, nah. And then he's like, Mulder's walking away, and he's like, unless you mean the devil. And Mulder gets an erection. So this guy's saying, like, he found a rabbit with, like, a human bicuspid in it, and found some bones sharpened into tools, put a pin in that. We'll get back to that in a minute. And then he says he saw this person. And they were walking around the woods, they were naked, and they were kind of sniffing the air like an animal. And the guy says, you know, I never come out here without my gun. Like, I never come out here alone anymore. Cut to the next scene of Mulder walking alone in the woods. I told you this episode's unintentionally hilarious. I mean it. So Mulder goes, like, to a homeless camp in the city. There's all these homeless people. And this is one of those episodes that can be told completely through memes. If you're on Twitter or Tumblr or any kind of social media outlet and you have not watched The X-Files, my guess is you have seen gift sets or scene packs from this scene I'm about to talk about. So Mulder's, like, yelling at some homeless people who are just trying to live their fucking lives, you know? And he comes upon this guy, and this guy's like, I can show you something, you know, about this homeless man that was murdered. And he takes him to his little shelter, and he says, I need some money. Mulder gives him money. It's building up to, like, this guy has the thing that's gonna break this case wide open, and he shows him this drawing. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you've never watched this episode, pause this video, go on Google, and say the Jersey Devil drawing. There is a movement of X-Files fans who are getting this drawing of the Jersey Devil tattooed on their body. And I sent out a tweet this week that said, if I ever get anything X-Files related tattooed on my body, it's going to be this homeless man's drawing of the Jersey Devil. Mulder takes the drawing, and what is the scene from Pixar's Luca, where Luca looks at Alberto's drawing of the Vespa, and he's like, I think this is the greatest drawing ever made. That's Mulder's reaction to the drawing of the Jersey Devil. So, the homeless man is really scared. This thing's going around killing homeless people. And Mulder does a solid one. And I really like Mulder in this episode. Okay? I got some hate saying I hate on Mulder too much. And you know what? I do, but he deserves it. But when Mulder is a good boy, I will praise him for being a good boy. And Mulder is a good boy here. He, like, tells the guy, gives him his hotel room key, and says, you know, hey, it's yours for the night. And I'm like, yeah, that's really sweet, Mulder. Why couldn't we have this Mulder? Like, why did we have to get this selfish jackass Mulder? Like, why couldn't we have just gotten gentle, good Mulder all the time? You know? So, gives the guy his room key. And, he's gonna have a little camp out. You cut to, Scully's godson's birthday party. And, these kids these kids that are at the birthday party will return in the season 3 episode Revelations. Every time I see them in this episode, I'm like, hey, I'll see you in season 3. The little boy with the gorilla mask who like runs into a wall, he'll be one of the kids in the shelter in Revelations. And I gotta say, Chris Carter is not a good writer, but he perfectly captures the feeling of being at a 7-year-old's birthday party. I'll give you that, Chris Carter. You get one thing, buddy. You're like David Duchovny. You get one thing per episode, and you know what? You captured that really well, my guy. So he bumps his head, and there are some there's some moments that make my ovaries pop. Anytime Scully goes into like mama bear mode, I'm like, my ovaries are popping. She picks the little boy up and she's like, did you bump your head? And she is just, I love to see this side of Scully, and you see it surprisingly a lot in the series, where she's like, where is the baby? Is the baby hurt? The baby's mine now. Like, she just, I just love to see Scully's maternal side come out. Like, she is just a born mom. And to think of how the show robbed her of that is just, it's one of the things that I can't forgive. I can't forgive Chris Carter for that, of robbing her of that, chance to be a mom. So anyway, we meet Ellen, Scully's friend, and Ellen gets a lot of hate for being a shitty friend, and I'm not going to argue with that. Ellen is a pretty shitty friend. But, two things. First of all, Ellen is one of the only windows we get into Scully's personal life that is not Mulder or her family. And as much as a shitty friend as Ellen is, like, we have that. Another thing is, man, my hand is cramping today. Another thing is, it's cool seeing Scully, like, have a personal life. And again, I talked about this during my episode on Lazarus, like, especially when you leave season 1, like, you're going to see Scully having less and less moments of just having a personal life and having fun and having friends and like having any life outside of Mulder, and until it's completely gone. And that's gross. And then Mulder like gets to have a personal life. He gets to have friends, he gets to have hobbies, like, and Scully doesn't. And it's gross and disgusting. Anyway, second thing. I don't think Ellen would have been as shitty a friend if, first of all, Chris Carter hadn't have written this episode. Chris Carter writing women well. That's like in the, what is that, in the same category as like Snowball surviving hell. Or if there had been at least one woman in the writer's room. Women don't talk this way to each other, okay? They don't talk this way to each other. So Scully's telling Ellen, she's like, I don't know how you do it all, like you raise these kids and it's amazing. And Ellen, this is Ellen's opportunity to tell Scully, like, hey, I know I'm a full-time mom. I'm assuming Ellen's a full-time mom. But, like, you're amazing and beautiful, too, because you're an FBI agent, and you chose that path. And Ellen could also be like, and you can also be a mom, too, and also be an FBI agent. But no, because this episode is written by a certain man named Chris Carter, Ellen tells Scully, well, first, you gotta find a man, and it'll solve all your problems. And I'm like, fuck you, Chris Carter. Women don't talk like this. Like, holy shit. I mean, Chris Carter had a wife. Like, he was around women. Like, anyway, whatever. There needed to be women writers on this show. And there's like, what, 278 episodes, and like 4 episodes are written by women, so there you have it. So, Ellen's a shitty friend, and I'm kind of glad that Scully, like, showed her the road. But there is a funny moment where, one of the kids, his dad comes in, and, Ellen's on the phone, and she holds the receiver, and she just mouths to Scully, "Divorced." And that's good. That's some good, again, like, it's unintentional comedy, but it's great. So, then, Scully's, Mulder's spending the night in this homeless camp in Jersey, and, he sees something moving among the trash cans, and he's like, oh, the Jersey Devil. And so, this leads to another thing about this episode that I noticed. He encounters this wild woman, like this feral woman, and he whistles at her like a fucking dog, and I'm like, what the fuck, Mulder? And she turns back to see, excuse me, where the noise is coming from, and she sees Spooky Boy, and there is this weird, erotic, sexual tension between this feral woman and Mulder. And am I imagining this? Does anyone who's watching this, do you pick this up too? Every scene between them is just electrified with eroticism. And even when Scully is like drawn into that, we'll get to that in a little bit. So anyway, the cops show up. They take Mulder for a homeless person who's just spouting insanity. And you know what? I mean, I can see why. So they take him to the drunk tank, and the same cop we saw at the morgue comes in. He's being a dickhead again. Definitely having some mayor from the movie Jaws vibes going on. Gotta keep the beaches open. And Mulder even tells him, he's like, you gotta keep the slots running. You know, if people knew a monster was around, they wouldn't come. And then, Mulder tells him, he says, what's gonna happen when this thing kills a tourist? And I'm like, what, the homeless person doesn't matter, Mulder? With Mulder, it's very much, one step forward, 2 steps back. Like, Mulder does something that's genuinely kind and sweet, and then he follows that, he doubles down on his shitty behavior right after that. So, Mulder is a classist, and when we do the season 6 episode Drive, I'm gonna, like, talk about Mulder and how classist he is, and the classism surrounding his character, but we'll get there. So, anyway, the cop, like, tells Mulder, enjoy the rest of your weekend in jail. And Mulder's like, I got a smart girlfriend who'll get me out. So, Mulder calls Scully at work, and, she's like, where the fuck are you, bro? And he's like, I'm in the drunk tank. There's a guy puking behind him. A lot of people puking in this episode. It's weird. And then Scully is on the phone at the FBI headquarters, and she's like, the drunk tank? And there's this old man behind her, and he looks up like, and she's like, awkward. And I'm like, who the fuck wrote this? Oh, yes, I remember now. It's Mr. Chris Farter himself. So, you could just see Chris Carter writing this, and he's like, this is going to be groundbreaking, this is going to be amazing, this is going to be so dark and philosophical, and it's the most unintentionally hilarious thing ever put on television. So, Scully goes, she bails Mulder out. Again, get used to it, Dana Scully, you're in for 7 or more years of this. Like, poor Scully, you know, in this episode, she was like, oh, I can't wait till he, like, grows out of this or something, and then it's like, 7 years later, the SpongeBob meme, she's like, still getting his ass out of jail. So, she takes Mulder to see this old professor of hers. Again, just a great peek into Scully's past. This colleague of hers. He's an anthropologist, and this guy's like, humans rule the world. We're the top carnivore, you know. And he's like, how the fuck could something survive, like, in the woods around Atlantic City, you know, without being detected? And then Mulder's like, but it's not outside of the realm of extreme possibility. And the guy's like, no, but, like, is anything? And also, this guy is super cool. Love him. He keeps giving Scully these looks like, why did you bring this absolute nutbag to me? So then, you see Scully say, I have to be back in Washington. And Mulder's like, why? And he says, is it another, like, birthday party? And she takes a sip of her tea. And she says, no. She's like, I have a date. Let's break down this scene, okay? Just bear with me here. So, she's taking a sip of her coffee. She's, like, looking around like she's just, oh, what's he gonna say? Oh my god, is he gonna be jealous? And then she says, I have a date. And then Mulder is eating eggs. He's just, Tasmanian devil. And he, like, stops fork midway to mouth, and he's like, what? And he's like, can you cancel? And I'm like, you guys have been working together for 4 goddamn months. Again, like, people, like, they were doing this now, at the beginning of season 1, and people were looking at them and being like, platonic. Yeah, they're definitely platonic. So, it's kind of sad. Like, Scully tells him, I want to have a life, you know, unlike you. And he's like, I have a life. And I'm like, no, you don't, bro. But then, like, it was funny, like, when I watched this when I was 11 and seeing this scene, I was like, haha, Mulder doesn't have a life. He chases paranormal shit. But then growing up and, like, seeing the show and how the writers view Dana Scully, she can't have a life. Like, she doesn't have that privilege that Mulder has. And, like, of course, that was unintentional. Like, especially on Chris Carter's part. But, like, yeah, like, that perfectly illustrates that point. So, Mulder's in his office. And he's looking at some Bigfoot titties. Again, even if you don't know anything about the X-Files, if you've never watched it before, if you've been on a social media platform, you've probably seen, like, gifs of this scene where Mulder's, like, looking at the picture of the Bigfoot who's doing the classic, like walk like this, but it's got, like, huge titties on it. And, all I gotta say is Mulder likes his Bigfoot's thick. That's it. This is the title of the episode. Mulder likes his Bigfoot thick. So, he's looking at it, but then he, like, gazes up at the clock. It's, like, 8:15, and he's like, I wonder if she's still on her date. And I'm like, oh my god, guy. Tell this woman you love her, Jesus. Oh, wait, he doesn't for another 7 years. So, then Scully, like, is at her date. Again, let's break it down, shall we? I could have an episode for, like, every single scene in this episode. So, she's on her date with Scott. And Scott is the most boring white bread guy I've ever laid my eyes on. And, he's, like, telling her, like, oh, you'll understand these things when you have kids. And I'm like, first of all, dude, don't make assumptions that this woman wants kids. Then he's like, oh, bring your godson out with my boy, and we'll go on this like, day trip, and we'll be a little family. I'm like, you are being presumptuous, you piece of shit. So then Mulder calls, and Scully again panics. She goes and talks to him, and I gotta say, Scully using Mulder to get out of a date is the most demisexual thing I have ever seen on television. I have done this so many times when I've been on a date. I don't want to be there. And I'm like, oh, so-and-so called, gotta go, you know? I do not want. So, ooh, that's good. They go off, they go back to Atlantic City because the park ranger dude found a body. He thinks it was the guy that he found the bicuspid of in the rabbit. And when Mulder and Scully get there, the body's gone. And Mulder's like, oh, the authorities are just trying to sweep this under the rug, you know. Again, harkens back to Jaws and gotta keep the beaches open. Which I guess is a commentary in and of itself. So, they team up with the park ranger and the anthropologist. And I gotta say, squad goals, man. Like, I'd love to see Mulder and Scully run around with this tough old park ranger guy and the cool anthropologist, old professor of Scully's. So they're staking out this building, and Mulder thinks that the Jersey Devil is not a devil; it's a she-devil, and they're going to flush her out. Tranquilizer. The shitty cop from the beginning of the episode, he gets wind of this, and he comes in there. and this scene, like, isn't very meaningful. It's just, like, really funny. Mulder and Scully are, like, looking over this banister in this abandoned building, and the shitty cop is, like, talking to the anthropologist, and he's like, Mulder, do you know him? And the anthropologist is like, I got you, boy. And he's like, no, I've never heard of him. Again, like, squad goals. So, Mulder and Scully are, like, discussing the Jersey Devil, and Mulder's like, what do you think she does all day? And Scully's like, maybe she goes shopping. Again, yeah, Chris Carter wrote this episode. He shouldn't be writing women at all, let alone Dana Scully. So then, Mulder sees the Jersey Devil. He goes running off without telling Scully. Again, Scully, get used to it, baby. You're in for 7 years of it, hon. Fox Mulder, shittiest FBI partner ever, or any partner, really. So, then the Jersey Devil body checks him. And, again, she's crouching over him on the floor of this abandoned building. And it is fucking erotic. Like, if you showed me this scene and I didn't know it was in the X-Files, and I never seen it before, I was like, this is like a porno, man. Like Mulder among the wolf women, you know? So, like, it's just... And then, like, when you add Scully into the equation, they frame it in a way, and I don't know if this is intentional or not, where, like, Scully is, like, fighting for Mulder's honor. Like, they frame it that way, where she's, like, every time the Jersey Devil is, like, crouched over Mulder, like, Scully's, like, trying to get to him and protect him. Is that intentional? I have no idea. Or is it just, like, shitty writing? Considering who's writing this, I'll go with the latter. So, God, my hand is cramping today. So, then Mulder just lies still, and she will not attack you, man. Anyway, he, like, makes a sudden movement, and she slashes open his flank. And I'm like, how is she doing this? Is it, like, with her bare hands, like Tombs, or is it, like, is she using, like, the bone tools they found? It's never explained. And, I mean, she is just fucking taking people out like a goddamn Terminator. Anyway, she runs. Scully comes and finds Mulder, and he's like, Scully, she was beautiful. And I'm like, yes, Chris Carter, you're shipping Mulder with the Jersey Devil. We get it. Anyway, Mulder is a little bitch boy sometimes, but I gotta say, he's a trooper in this episode. He is running around after he just got torn open by this feral woman. So, they track her into the woods, and The park ranger dude is another, like, bro. He's, like, a decent person. He doesn't want to hurt her. I just get I want to know more about this guy. He's, like, super interesting. Like, I get the feeling like he's known this family of, like, feral people for a long time. And I'll get to that in just a little bit. His reaction to this scene that's about to come. They track her into the woods. My daughter and I watched the X-Files on Comet TV. They blurred out the Jersey Devil woman's butt crack. Of course. It's like, yes, give us all the sexual and reproductive trauma that the X-Files has to offer, but goddamn if we show a butt crack on this show. So, the guy shoots her. The park ranger shoots her with a tranquilizing dart. And then these motherfuckers from the police department surround her and kill her. And so Mulder goes running down to her. And I remember watching this when I was 11 and being like, this is a really sweet moment. Like, Mulder, like, I don't think he cared about her as a person, which is disgusting. Like, he wanted her as a specimen. Like, it's like the anthropologist, like, tells him at the beginning of the episode, he's like, what a discovery it would be. And I'm like, yeah, that's what Mulder wants. He wants to show this woman as a discovery. I don't think he really cares about her. But the scene where he closes her eyes, that is a really sweet scene. And I think if all of Mulder's shitty behavior prior, I could forget that, it would be like a super sweet scene. But again, like with Mulder, it's like he's taking, you know, one step forward and two steps back. Like, but it is a sweet scene. Like, he cares about her to the point of her, like, being a medical discovery. Like, anyway, like, and again, it's like super erotic. Like, he's like, because when he confronts the man who shot her, the cop, like, Scully's between them, and he's like, why did you do it? And then Scully, like, reaches in and, like, grabs him, and she's like, come on, baby. And I'm like, it's so, like, she's fighting for his honor against this feral woman. It's just, it's such erotic overtones. And I don't know if it's intentional or not. And then it, like, cuts to the park ranger, and he's, like, shaking his head. He's really messed up about it. And in the final scene, you see this father and son hiking through the woods, and the father's like, have I ever told you the story about the Jersey Devil? And the kid, who again shows up in Revelations in season 3, he's like, no, Dad, never have. And you just see this baby feral kid, like, crawl out from under the rocks. Again, that kid will be in Revelations too. There's X-Files recycling actors for extras, and then there's X-Files recycling extras for actors for extras. So, and then, like, this park ranger, like, has a history with these people. You know, I almost wonder if he, like, felt a kind of protectiveness towards them. Like, he really wanted to help this woman. He really wanted her to, like, I don't know. I think he was a good-hearted dude. I think he, like, wanted to help these people. So, you can see, like, why he's so messed up at the end of it. Did he personally know this feral family, these generations of feral people? I don't know. So then it shows Mulder and Scully, and Scully tells Mulder, she's like, look, Mulder, just take a mental health day. She's like, relax. He's like, I can't relax. And then she gets a phone call. It's Scott. And I say Scott's name like Steven says Kevin in Steven Universe. Kevin! Scott! He's telling Scully, he's like, hey, you want to go out again, baby? And Scott sucks. Okay, he really sucks. But, again, you get this, like, foreshadowing of, like, what Scully's life is going to be like. she hangs up on Scott, and she like follows Mulder out to the to rent the car, you know, to go on the next pointless, you know, misadventure. And you kind of get a foreshadowing of what Scully's life is going to be like, just following this man on this futile quest where nothing ever comes to fruition, and her life is wrecked because of it. And I hate to leave you on such a sad note, but it's like, that's the foreshadowing in the Jersey Devil. It's like Scully can never have nice things. She never will have nice things. Because the writer, particularly this writer, Chris Carter, will never let her have nice things. So, on that positive note, I was supposed to review this, like, to get pumped up again, and it's just really sad. This is my longest review! Hurrah! If you want me to review an X-Files episode that's underrated, or that you think is overrated, or that's in the middle somewhere, please hit me up on Twitter. I am at raccoons_dead. You can find me on Tumblr at Just Awful X-Men art. Or you can leave a comment here on my YouTube channel. Hit me up, let me know what you think, and look out for Jersey Devils. Oh, I also wanted to add, this is kind of a coda to the episode. When Scully comes back with the medical reports on this feral woman that was killed, she does tell Mulder, like, this is a human being. It doesn't have any, like, DNA of, like, a Neanderthal person or a prehistoric person. So, yeah, she was just a feral woman who was incredibly and uncomfortably attracted to Fox Mulder. But then there's a scene where, like, the paramedic is pulling Mulder's shirt up to show his titties. Again, there's a lot of titties in this episode. And I'm like, yeah, I'd go feral on that too, man. I 100% agree. I would be just like the feral woman. So, take it easy. See you in a little bit. Bye.